Well, hello and welcome to another week on my allotment. And I've been up here quite a bit recently. I am a self-employed gardener. Some of you may have heard that before. So I'm still working, and I know some of you will think that's wrong. Stay at home. Well, I'm in people's gardens. I'm on my own. I keep my distance from them. Well, they're indoors and I'm outside. So as far as I'm concerned, that's perfectly within the rules, and I shall continue to work as long as I can. And when I'm not working, I'm up here or in my own garden. So think of that what you will, but I'm very happy with it. And I've been busy up the allotment. I've now managed to, with the slabs that one of my customers gave me, I've managed to do, I've got two plots here, and one of the plots has now got all the sideways little paths completely slabbed, and I've managed to get enough chippings, or there were enough chippings to do this, the lengthways path through it. I used a rake. Oh, that did not smell good. I used a rake and raked the chippings that were left on the floor, so I really have scraped the barrel now. So that's one plot completely weatherproofed, and when we get some, if and when we get some manure, I will raise the beds so that for next winter one whole plot is completely weatherproofed. The second plot has still got a lot of the cardboard line there. I didn't have enough slabs to do all the little sideways paths, but I'm leaving the cardboard. I'm going to wait. I'm going to be optimistic, and on my rounds I'm keeping my eye out for any landscape gardeners or tree surgeons with a chipper. So yeah, I'm very pleased with the way it's gone. We've had a glorious week of weather. Everything is now drying up pretty much. The centre bit is still a bit soggy because we're in a bowl and that's still wet. However, I've driven my van round to my allotment for the first time this year. That's got to be a good sign. And all the beds are, I've had to fork over the beds lightly. They've all been compacted by 5 months of heavy rain. So whilst I said I'd go no dig, and that is still my overriding desire, I've had to fork them over slightly, and it's worked. The air, the light, the warmth, the sun has got into the soil, and where they were compacted and sodden, now they are crumbly and dry. So I'm very happy with that. All my onions are in, all my garlic is in, everything's coming on nicely at the greenhouse. So yeah, as it stands, I couldn't be happier with the way the allotment is going. And it's at times like this, as if those of us who have allotments or kitchen gardens, as if we don't know the benefits of them, the health, the fitness, the mental well-being from them, not to mention the fruits and vegetables you get, which are far superior to anything you might get in a supermarket. Not that you'll get anything like that in a supermarket at the moment. Now, of course, we have the added benefit of we have somewhere to come while all this madness carries on. And again, there will be people watching this. I've seen comments on other YouTubers' videos of, oh, you should be at home. Well, you know, we all do it differently, and I'm within the rules. There's nobody up here. There's nobody right now within several hundred metres of me, so I see nothing wrong with this. I was up here early when there was no traffic. I mean, there barely isn't any traffic now. So anyway, I'm up here and I shall continue to come up here as long as the rules allow it, and I don't see why that should change. Funnily enough, I was talking to one of the guys who does the rubbish lorries recently up at the garden centre, and he said that last week they did the waste food collection, and it was far, far busier than the week after Christmas, because all those selfish people who went out and bulk buy and panic buying all the fruit and veg and so on, of course they couldn't eat it all. So it was like the week, or worse than the week after Christmas, when they threw it all away. So there you go. What a funny old world we're living in. But I shall put together a few clips of earlier in the week and when it was really nice and warm. Today it's a lot colder and there is a foul wind blowing out there. But I didn't think I'd be using the stove again, but the fire's on. It's lovely and warm in here. My 3-bean chili is just about there. So welcome along. And on Wednesday I go to a place called Bigswear Estate and I work for the chap there. I trim the riverbanks when there's fishing taking place. I do a bit of forestry work with him and I look after the garden of his rather large house. And I took a couple of clips of me up there because I thought it was just breathtakingly beautiful. So yeah, a few bits and pieces added together to make a short video for all of us to watch while we sit in our houses and go stir crazy. I hope you enjoy it. Well, in the midst of all this madness, this is one of the places I work, on the Bigswear Estate, on the River Wye. And I'm coming to work as normal because, as you can see, I'm managing to maintain a very safe 2-metre distance from the crowds. This is my office, and I know every day how lucky I am. Right, this area here, last winter, not the one just gone, the one before, the river levels were reasonably low, so I spent a few weeks doing what I love best, a bit of chainsaw work and some blimmin' big bonfires, and got rid of all this willow. They were big trees and now they're more like shrubs, but of course they've grown up and all these young stalks have got to come off. We want to keep the trees because the roots bind the bank, but this growth gets in the way of the fisherman's lines, so the landowner says they've got to come down, and that's my job. So this should be quite a boring hour, but I'm in the sunshine, I'm working, so no complaints here. Well, as the sun comes up on another beautiful day, the birds are in full chorus, the River Severn isn't high tide. However, none of that beauty matters to me, because my first job of the day is to shift the last load of slabs from my customer's patio onto the plot. So, let's get started. So starting at the bottom here, down by the High Chaparral Arch, perhaps you can see this plot here. This is plot number 1 and that's plot number 2 on the left. This one is now, I managed to scrape with a rake the last of the chippings off the floor, and I managed to, something's been digging there, and I managed to put chippings down this long path, and all the side paths are where I've put the slabs. So this plot now is completely weatherproofed, and you can see where I've dug all the beds over. They're now drying out. I dug this one yesterday and I was sinking in it, but 24 hours, well, it's not even 24 hours, 24 hours later it's drying. Now that would not have been the case if I'd left it, so I'm sorry that my no dig vow has dropped, but needs must. So yeah, you can see now the P-frames are up. They were up in a previous video. All the beds are dug over. The raspberry bed in front of me here still needs a bit of work. I shall do that today, I hope. But that aside, the plot is looking pretty good. And I can't help these paths that are still cardboard. I can't do anything about that until we get chippings. But other than that, you can see some of the cardboard has flown off. But other than that, it's all in pretty good shape. I'm very happy with it. My little thought for the day, and again, this isn't done to upset anybody. I understand this is a serious situation. Every statistic is a person's life, and I understand all that, and I get it. My comment is not about that situation and the fact that, you know, as a society we've got to get through this, and the only way to get through it is to play by the rules. I understand that. But the one thing I'm concerned about is the perspective. We're losing perspective. And I think a lot of that is down to the media coverage. I think some of it, you've got to strike a balance. You've got to make people understand that this is serious, and that by distancing and keeping away from people, we can limit the spread to some degree. Unfortunately, I do believe that this will just have to, it will have to play itself out. However, that said, and I understand the seriousness of it, and I understand that there are concerns out there. People, I mean, I've seen the word frightening used, you know, and if you're frightened by it, well, then that's a natural reaction. But my point is that there's a balance to be struck between understanding and making people understand that this is serious, and keeping a perspective on things. So if I can give you a few figures, and these figures are not made up by me, they've come from the government. These are government figures and World Health Organization figures. So, and I don't do this to, you know, make the situation sound even worse. It's just facts, okay? And you can check them for yourselves. Every day in Britain, 1,600 people die. In any normal day, every day of your life and mine, 1,600 people die in this country. Of, you know, a multitude of causes. Every day of those 1,600, every day of your and my life, and long after this has gone, on average 460 people die of heart disease every day. Now that is an almost, in almost all cases, is caused by diet and lifestyle, and it can be reversed. It's preventable. So when this is all gone and we've all settled down and the government have said we can go back to living our lives normally, if that ever happens again, those 460 every day will continue to die, and we will all go back to our lives and think nothing of it, because the media don't make us aware of that. And they do, you know, those people don't just die like that. They are long-term sick. So if you want to talk about clogging up the NHS, heart disease will be a good place to start. But we don't do it, we don't report it, so people aren't aware of it, and they're not interested in it. Every year in the UK, between 6,000 and 10,000 people die every winter of seasonal flu, and it depends on the severity of the winter as to how many people die. Now, we could, you know, if we all social distanced, we could limit that, but we don't. That's 6,000 to 1,000 people. Now, coronavirus may reach those figures, I don't know. Who knows what the future holds? It certainly has done in Italy, looks like it's going to in America, so there's no reason to suspect that it won't continue to go up, and we may reach those figures. But that's why I mention the word perspective. If they said, look, you know, every year this many people die, and this looks like it's going to be a similar sort of number, perhaps people might just calm down a bit. I don't know. So every year, 6,000 to 10,000 people die of flu. In 2014, we had a particularly harsh winter. Over 28,000 people died in the UK of flu and its associated complications. 28,000 people died. Every one of them a tragedy, every one of them a story and a family. But the media chose not to report it. You and I weren't aware of it, and our lives went on. 28,000 people, it was over 28,000 people. So, you know, this current situation is not unprecedented. It's a normal part of life. Every year, the World Health Organization keep figures on the worldwide deaths from influenza. And on average, every year, worldwide, 370, I think it's 300, let me get that right. No, wrong bit of paper. 389,000 lives are lost to seasonal flu every year worldwide. 389,000 every year. Not reported. You don't know about it, I don't know about it, and we carry on our lives regardless. In 2017, there was a worldwide epidemic of tuberculosis. It killed 1.7 million people. You weren't aware of it, I wasn't aware of it, and we carried on our lives regardless. So I mention those figures not to scare anyone, and I know some people will be upset by it. It's just to give a little perspective. This is not unprecedented. I'm afraid, you know, it happens and people die, sadly. But for some reason, the media have grasped this and are running with it like I've never seen anything before. And it's scaring people. And like I say, maybe some of that is necessary to stop some of the foolishness that's gone on. I don't know. I just mention it, you know, to widen our breadth of understanding. I'd love to hear what you think. So please leave a comment. You know, did you know about those figures? Are you aware that this goes on? I don't know. Maybe some people are. Maybe it's me that didn't know. But a little bit of investigation just gives you a better understanding of the bigger whole picture. The media have a lot to answer for. I suspect nowadays the media create as many stories as they report. Anyway, tell me your thoughts. Thought I'd share a little bit of niff, naff and trivia with you. I read something in one of these vegetable gardening magazines recently that said 87% of the plants on Earth require bees, butterflies or hoverflies to pollinate them. I thought that was quite interesting. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. And another little piece of useless information. Have you ever wondered where the phrase to have 3 square meals a day comes from? Well, back in the days of Nelson and ships of the line, gun crews slept, worked, played and ate together, and they would do all that between the cannons on the gun decks. And when they came to meal times, they'd have a mess rep, and he would go off and collect the food in a big sort of bowl from the galley and bring it back to the rest of the gun crew. And they would hang a plank or a rectangular piece of wood that would act as a table on ropes off the beams of the ship, so that it would move and it would roll with the ship rather than tipping everything all over the place and falling over. And each man had 4 wooden battens nailed to the table as a plate, and then the food was poured or slopped into that square on the table, because obviously if you had a plate or a dish, it would slide off. And so that's where the phrase to eat 3 square meals a day comes from. I hope you find that interesting. Just thought I'd share. Well, that's it for another week. Please excuse all the rattling and banging. It's the shed bouncing about in the wind. So yeah, don't know what will happen this week. Coming, don't know. Who knows what will happen. So as long as I can come up the allotment, I'll continue to do so. And if I can do so, then I shall make videos. So hopefully, all being well, I shall see you next week. And the week after, and so on. Look after yourselves, take care, and see you soon. Bye for now.